John, the US user base, it's about 10% of the entire user base around the world, but around 25% of total views. What effect would it have if those 150 million users were A, cut off, but also from a technical perspective, how would it happen?
Well, I will tell you, but first of all, let me just say I'm really glad you played that clip there, because I have to tell you that Shou, who is the CEO in America of TikTok, in my view, has been brutalized today. Brutalized, I choose my words very carefully, by members of the Energy and Commerce Committee of the House of Representatives. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've never seen anything quite like this. I have seen them go after politicians, but politicians are well trained and well versed at answering back. They know how to handle themselves. This man is just the CEO of TikTok. I mean, I say just, but you know what I mean. He's not used to doing this. How he is keeping his cool, I simply don't know, because they are, as you heard in that clip, they're interrupting him, they're sneering at him, they're coming up with their own notes, which they've clearly prepared days in advance to counter what he has just said. It is a very, very uncomfortable watch, and it's been going on since 10 this morning. That's 4.5 hours ago. So it really is quite extraordinary. And I think the issues that he's being asked about affect all social media companies like Facebook and Twitter and Snap Inc. And they're things like protection for teenagers and data storage and that sort of thing. So the main issue here, the main issue is the fact that TikTok is owned by ByteDance, and ByteDance is headquartered in Beijing. And I've said on this program before that China is not the flavor of the month in America at the moment, and I think the members of this committee are literally using it as an opportunity not only to attack TikTok, but to attack China as well. There's 32 of them to get through today, and the other extraordinary thing about this, Rama, is that they are absolutely bipartisan on it. Now, you can't get the Republicans and the Democrats to agree on anything in Washington, D.C., and I'm absolutely serious about that. But they do agree on attacking China, and that's what we're seeing at the moment. To answer your question directly, I think it is, despite everything I've said, hard to imagine that TikTok will end up being banned completely in America. A couple of reasons for that. First of all, it's a private company. They pay their taxes. Second of all, there's an election coming up, and the Democrats will want to use TikTok to appeal to younger voters in particular. And then on top of that, it is possible there could be a ban, or indeed a divestment away from ByteDance. I know that that's what the Biden administration favors most of all. But here's the thing, Rama, as you know only too well, if they move in that direction, then they're going to be clogged up in the courts here forever. There'll be court challenge after court challenge after court challenge. And on top of that, Beijing has said it won't support the sale of TikTok in the US to another corporation, all of which slightly muddies the waters, actually, because it allows these people to say, aha, you see, China does control what you do, which may or may not be true, we don't know. But it's been a very, very difficult couple of hours of television here, I'll tell you.
Indeed. So TikTok's proposal, and he made this clear in the statements that he had prepared before he actually started his session with Congress, was that they're trying to warehouse the data generated by US users in the United States, in physical servers located in the country, and having even the recommendation algorithm audited by a third party. You can imagine the consternation, for example, that would erupt if Instagram or Facebook would say, yeah, sure, by all means, let's have our algorithms audited by someone else altogether. But lawmakers are not convinced by this proposal. Why?
Well, because they don't want to be. I mean, putting it bluntly, they simply don't want to be, for the reasons that I outlined just now. I mean, they want to attack TikTok and they want to attack China, and that's what this is really about. Let me just tell you about the warehousing idea. It came from Larry Ellison, who heads up the software company Oracle, which I think used to be based in California and I think is now based in Texas. Anyway, it's beside the point. The fact is, Oracle is warehousing all the data from TikTok in America at the moment, and they call it Project Texas. And Project Texas has come up time and time and time again. And essentially, by the end of this year, my understanding is that all the data in America, historical data and data that is coming through all the time, will end up being on Oracle servers. My understanding is in Texas, and I think also Virginia. Now, prior to this year, as it were, till this idea came along, the TikTok data was stored in Singapore, which is where Shou is from originally. His wife, funny enough, was born in Virginia. And in Virginia, that's where the servers were. But they're all going to be now in one place in Texas. And Shou has outlined several things. which we did not know before, but which has really, basically just bounced off the congressmen and women because they're not interested in hearing it. He's talked about Project Texas. He says that it means that data will be stored on US soil, in US computers, and run by US staff. He says that his priority is the safety of the customers, particularly teenagers. He's talked about the firewall in Texas, which is the same thing. He's talked about freedom of expression in the company being very important, including all anti-China points of view, Tiananmen Square, that sort of thing, and also transparency of the firm in terms of explaining what they're doing. And as he said many times, we're the only social media company to warehouse our data in Texas. All the others, and think of one, and you name them if you want, as you said at the top there would be not prepared to do this. And he's also said several times that TikTok does not share data with China. He said it many times. Congress people don't want to hear it.
All right, and so one last question for you, John. There's an interesting sort of precedent and a somewhat hypocritical one actually being set up here, because if TikTok is willing to put up data in silos like this, right, there's really nothing there for it to stop another entity like the EU, for example, saying, hang on, if you can do that in the United States, you need to do that here as well. And the reason I say this is particularly hypocritical, because 2 or 3 years ago, India had data localization laws in place, and Visa raised an absolute storm about having to comply with those rules. But here we are in a situation where an entirely different company is being told, you know what? Data localization, you have to keep that data in the area in which it was generated rather than parking it somewhere else.
Yeah, that Visa thing, I love that. That's great. You've reminded me of that. And again, it's because Shou is why he's saying time and time again, look, we're doing everything we can. We're the only ones doing this, for goodness sake, harboring and all our data in one place in Texas. He's made that point several times over. Look, the thing to understand, here's the thing. This is the point now, okay? The only value that these companies have is the fact that they can share data. Okay, now hang on a second. They share data with their advertisers, and then the advertisers, buy space on TikTok. And as you know, it's all about algorithms. So if I have a TikTok account, I'm likely to see things that are different that you will see. It depends on our interests. So in my case, it might be aeroplanes, for example, and stuff like that. Now, the thing is, it's perfectly possible that we could have a so-called Project Europe going on in Europe. We just have to wait and see. I know that they're not particularly happy about TikTok either because of the anti-China sentiment. And I think you also have to remember that in America, TikTok has been banned from use on cell phones provided by federal authorities, state authorities. The UK Parliament, I think just the other week, banned TikTok because of all these fears. And the problem is you've got in America 150 million people a month going on to TikTok, many of them on screen for 90 minutes, 90 minutes. I mean, any television company would give their eye teeth for that kind of commitment. So it's all just a bit frightening if you take the view that somehow China is really influencing what TikTok does. So TikTok's job going forward, including in Europe, is to convince everybody that actually they do not share data with Beijing. Beijing does not really control what they do. Now, at the moment, based on the performance of Shou, I'm afraid and he's had a very tough time. He's only to be commended. But based on the way what he said has been received, I'm afraid the jury is very much still out.